Hi, I'm Andrew Zimmerman Jones, and I'm here to talk about science. I've for a while been thinking about doing a video podcast or a podcast or something like that, focusing on science because that's something I'm really passionate about. And fortunately, Felicia Day and the great folks over at Geek Sundry have put out a call for vlogs on subjects that you're passionate about. And I thought, well, something I really would love to see is a science show on Geek and Sundry. So, if it's something I want to see, it makes sense to put myself forward as someone who can do it. And my background is I have a degree in physics, and I'm also a science writer. I do the About.com physics website, and I also have written the book String Theory for Dummies. Sorry, Albert. Anyway, so I've co-written this book. I was the lead writer on it. I worked on it with Daniel Robbins, a PhD in physics, who is himself a string theorist. I do not conduct string theory in my basement laboratory here, but I wrote the book on it, literally. So the nice thing about being not a scientist but a science writer is that my goal is not to worry about all the nitty-gritty details of the science. It's to get the conceptual aspect of science communicated to the general public, and that's actually something I really enjoy. Not only, when I was in school, I enjoyed the science, but I enjoyed mostly reading about science and communicating the science. And so that's what the emphasis is going to be in this video podcast. The goal is not going to be to give people just strings of numbers and details, minute details of experiments or anything like that. It's really to provide a context for science, because I think a lot of people are intimidated by science, and so I want to really demystify science for the people watching this vlog. And I think within the geek culture there's a really big demand for science education and scientific things. I want to see this vlog go all sorts of different ways. I want to have hangouts with scientists where they explain their area of expertise, because my background's in physics, so whenever we get into biology or psychology or things like that, I'm really at that point just kind of a fanboy who's finding out things about how this works. I have kind of an affinity for a lot of pop psychology books and things like that, that talk about the different ways we're finding out how the human mind works. And a lot of these things are highly speculative, but I think it's interesting to see what science has to say about them. So even though my background's in physics, we'll probably spend most of our time talking about physics stuff, either very concrete physics things like what is general relativity and quantum physics, to more abstract things even than that, like what is time, but then in other realms maybe like what is consciousness. So some really abstract questions that science hasn't yet come up with the answer to. I'd like to focus on some of those things. So I'd like to do things like maybe do some experiments, some real basic ones, to kind of demonstrate scientific principles. But it's not going to be about explaining individual scientific things too much. It's about really kind of the greater culture of science, because I think that's the important thing. Why is science important? The reason I think science is important is because whenever you have any sort of discussion, it's amazing how ill-informed people are, and how whenever they ask questions and it doesn't even occur to them that it's a question that you could bring any sort of empirical knowledge to bear on the question. And one of my favorite quotes about what is science is from Richard Feynman. And if you haven't heard of Richard Feynman, I'm sure at some point in the future I will do a video on Richard Feynman, because he's one of the most interesting characters of 20th century physics. But here's a quote from him that I really like, and it says, "Science is a way to teach how something gets to be known, what is not known, to what extent things are known, for nothing is known absolutely, how to handle doubt and uncertainty, what the rules of evidence are, how to think about things so that judgments can be made, how to distinguish truth from fraud and from show." Basically, when you're using facts to create an understanding of the world through science, that's what you're doing. That's in some ways a better description of the scientific method than the normal checklist that you get where you create a hypothesis and then test the hypothesis and everything, because science doesn't exactly work that way, even though it's what we learn. So that is what I'd like to do with this vlog. I really hope I have the opportunity to continue it. I plan to continue it one way or another, hopefully with Geek and Sundry. So if you like it, by all means, click subscribe, click like, and leave comments. Let me know what you think. And thanks for coming. Bye.